camera. So I don't know what the protocols are. I don't know, the minister and I've informally known each other for a long time. And I'm never really sure what the formalities are. So I'm going to skip all of that. I'm going to fall back on that wonderful South African cop-out, which is all protocols observed, and I think that gets me through this. Because as I said, because I'm a journalist, I tend to put things down on paper, and I see that I've got 30 minutes, and since grade 1, my teachers used to say, he's okay, he does okay at school, but he talks excessively. And this has followed me through my life, so I'm going to just touch on a few things. Death, even when we expect it, always comes as a shock. The SABC spent years preparing for the inevitable passing of Nelson Mandela. We had plans for every eventuality and teams ready to be deployed at a moment's notice. But until it happened, we could not foresee the full extent and the impact of it all. I was stuck in Pietermaritzburg with some SABC executives when I received the dreaded call. The only scheduled flights back to Johannesburg were the following day. It was truly a dark and a rainy night, with thick mist swirling through the vegetation. It was, however, impossible for me to even contemplate staying overnight, and so in true South African style, we hired a taxi, a typical minibus taxi, and set off through the pouring rain back to Auckland Park. My phone battery ran flat as I tried to coordinate the broadcast through the night. Made all the more difficult because I was directing proceedings, blind as it were. It was surreal to pull up into petrol stops along the way and to hear the SABC radio broadcasting the sad news. Eventually we got back to Johannesburg at 6:30 in the morning and proceeded straight to the newsroom. In the days that followed, the SABC rose to the challenge of one of the biggest broadcast efforts ever. For 10 days, across 4 television channels, 18 radio stations, and numerous digital platforms, the SABC had rolling, non-stop coverage of events related to the passing of Madiba. The task of broadcasting the event was all the more difficult for some staff members who over the years had developed their own personal relationship with our national icon. I, for one, had been outside the prison when he was released, and at Bishop's Court the following morning, a witness to Madiba's first press conference as a free man. I was at the first FNB Stadium rally. All these and many other events are fresh in my memory, as if it were yesterday. And now I was responsible for broadcasting our hero's final journey. We were acutely aware of the fact that this was not just news as usual. This was a milestone of our young democracy. We had a duty to honor his legacy, and we consciously did it every day to the best of our ability. Throughout the 10 days of mourning, the SABC continuously received messages on social media about its coverage of this historic event. At 6:20 on the morning of Nelson Mandela's funeral, a tweet on SABC News Online, and I quote, "I'm already awake to witness history. Thanks SABC for updating us with everything about the funeral. Hashtag rest in peace Nelson Mandela." A minute before that at SABC News Online, If it wasn't for the SABC, I wouldn't have witnessed this greatest farewell of Madiba. I've never seen anything like that. This kind of coverage does not happen by chance. It requires years of meticulous planning. Other media houses had reported about the SABC's preparations and how much went into it, but I don't think they will ever fully comprehend the amount of dedication and love that went into preparing for that sad duty we had to perform. The official announcement of Nelson Mandela's death by the President of the Republic was simultaneously broadcast on all our platforms. Our digital platforms literally exploded as the world heard the news and responded with an outpouring of sorrow. We covered the news of Madiba's passing blow by blow, broadcasting live on radio and television the massive events like the memorial service and the funeral, and also streaming it live on the web. And I can go into some of the other detail, but I'll skip that. I want to maybe share with you a digital user who identified herself simply as Christelle wrote the following poem on a page created for this specific purpose on our news website. I stand tall so that the light streams in and covers me. My window with its bars is small and my space is dark. But inside I'm free as I hear within me the echoes of Africa. We are a nation of strength, power, and a love within us. Hear its echoes as it travels across the universe. See its length as it echoes Africa. Stand tall within your space. Grab those echoes as you pace. Listen and feel the pulse of Africa. For Nelson Mandela. Today we are here to officially hand over an invaluable repository of insight into the coverage of the passing of Nelson Mandela. The SABC material we are donating to this center includes the items on the DVD that the SABC News handed over to the Mandela family, such as the radio obituary, a 1-hour TV highlights package, and a selection of online coverage. We are also donating a DVD that was prepared for commercial distribution. Images used on the SABC TV set during the 10-day special broadcast last year. A batch of 16,000 emails received by SABC News, and in cooperation with Telkom, audio messages from the public, some of which were broadcast in all our languages on SABC radio stations. This material is intended to help educate future generations about what it was like to be a South African in December 2013. It is meant to shed at least some light on the sorrow of a nation and the impact that one man had on the world. The dedicated SABC Nelson Mandela website is still there as a living tribute to him. It contains latest news related to him, as well as information on his legacy, TV and radio coverage of his mourning period, and it will also feature our special radio and TV coverage of this and many other events to reflect on Madiba's passing a year ago. I know personally how much blood, sweat, and tears went into compiling the material we are now handing over to you. It was a labor of love for the hundreds of SABC News employees across the country and the world. We are also grateful to the Nelson Mandela Foundation and the Center of Memory for their help and collaboration over the years to compile some of the material, and their assistance now to make sure that the SABC material will be preserved for future generations. I was going to share with you some of the responses we received from broadcast partners around the world during that 10-day period. but I think I'll tell you from the European Broadcast Union, we received the following. Your team's news coverage and production of the pool signal that was distributed throughout the world was literally flawless. The EBU was able to distribute over 70 hours of live transmissions for the 10 days. I sincerely thank you on behalf of Eurovision News for the great professionalism in managing the event day by day. From another broadcast partner, may I thank you very much for the work the SABC did on behalf of the millions of people around the world who wish to share in the recent events surrounding the death of Mr. Mandela. And then Doreen Morris, she's a friend, so I expect her to say nice things, but Doreen Morris emailed huge kudos to SABC News for the Madiba coverage, poignant, beautiful visuals, memories of an extraordinary life. And Jeffrey Dupe tweeted at SABC News Online, well done SABC for covering everything about Utata. I know that he's looking down with a smile and saying thank you. So thank you.
I'd like to at this point call on Vern Harris.